The following podcast is sponsored by Bunderin Press. Bunderin Press is a Canadian publisher of quality science fiction titles, including this month's releases of Duatro by Brad C. Anderson, The Dark Corridor by Jennifer Rahn, and The Sixth Helix by Al Anya. Check these books and more at bunderinpress.ca. And by Adam Dries, writer, presenter, speaker. His new book, 5 Critical Things for Successful Book Signings, will be available at the end of this month, May 27th. The book launch is at Owl's Nest Books. Definitely check him out. Also check out his previous books in the Yellow Hoods and Wizard Killer series. Welcome, everyone, to episode 259 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pentalaresco. I write stuff and podcast too. Today, my guest is the amazing Jennifer Rahn. Jennifer Rahn is doing a book launch this week of The Dark Corridor at Owl's Nest Books on the 23rd. You should definitely check her out. She's being published by Bunderin Press. And speaking of Bunderin Press, this week, one of my 2 giveaways, I'm doing 2 giveaways this week, ladies and gentlemen, is Strange Bedfellows, an anthology of political science fiction edited by Hayden Trenholm. And it's got some great authors in there: U.G. Foster, Richard Harlan, Andrew Barton, Gustavo Bondani, F.F. White, John Schuyler. Just some excellent political style science fiction. That will be a giveaway this week. I'm also giving away another copy of 5 Critical Things by Adam Dries. It's like I said, it's an awesome book. You should if you're an author and you're trying to figure out who you are as a presenter and how you approach readers and fans. This is your book. You should definitely check it out. Speaking of which, Katie O'Connor, you are the winner of the giveaway last week. I'll be contacting you shortly. Congratulations, and not to fret, or just keep putting your name in the link. And this week, you are eligible for not 1, but 2 different books. It'd be really, really cool. Yeah, I got more cool things I can want to talk about, but I have to be good for the moment. So I think let's just get to our conversation, shall we? So it's on. So anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good. All right. But as we talk about the air here, we live in a really, really creative age. Like, we really do. Like, in terms of books and everything like that, in terms of everything we're doing, everything we're seeing, we live in a very creative age. This is the time to be experimental. Like, okay, you write a book, but you also could write that a movie, a video, a game. Why not? Right? We don't have, the mediums are a lot closer than they ever were, and so why not try something that is a mixed medium? It's also, like in my case, it's a story, but it's also a game. And I thought, and again, it's a very Alice concept, right? It fits Alice in Wonderland perfectly. So why not do it, see what happens? The worst thing that can happen is I strike out, but I strike out.
Well, from what you told me, I don't think it.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'd play it.
Tell you what, when it's ready, I'll call you. I'll bring you up. You'll go, you want to play? It's like, yes, and then you can play. You can be Alice, the Cheshire Cat, or Medusa, and you can try to save the world.
Well, my husband and my brother-in-law are really into board games. Like, there's always a game night going on sometime during the week.
So what are their games?
Oh gosh. Well, my brother-in-law Greg, he's actually written a game. He calls it Shadows of America. It's a role-playing game.
Okay, yeah.
But we have all the Zombicide board games, Power Grid.
Power Grid's cool.
Several we haven't even opened yet. I like the deck builders a lot.
Oh, like Seven Wonders?
Well, we have Legendary.
Okay,
I like the DC deck builder a little bit.
Okay, I have Legendary myself. That's a good one. My favorites are Thorough.
Oh, with the dragons and the boats and little cards. And you have to run the other guy off the board. Yeah, I'm kind of hoping my daughter will learn to play that one, but she doesn't quite get it yet.
Well, the reason I like elegant games. I love Tetris is always an interesting game to me because it's a simple concept. You're just making you're playing with algorithms. That's all you're doing the whole time you're going through it. But it is one of the most addictive games ever, right? If you ever get into you really get into it, it's like, oh my god, the lines are going crazy, and this game has been around for decades and it's such a simple game. Another game I really like is Ricochet Robots. That's an old game, like very old game.
There's I forget what it's called now, but we could play this one game with robots. Robots Robocar or something. But you have cards that like tell you which direction your robot's going to do, and you have to avoid lasers and stuff.
Yes. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
No, like the idea here is like you're trying to figure out how many ricochets it'll actually take to hit the robot.
Okay.
It's literally just ricochet robots. So you're like, so it's like okay. 6. Nope. If you're right, you're right. But then your opponent has to see if they can do it quicker. I like games like that because I find they're the perfect combination of. I admire simplicity. Like I really admire simplicity because I think simplicity is the sign of genius. Like I feel it's a sign of genius. So anything that's really simple, like Lego. I love Lego. Or Meccano or anything like that because it's not a hard concept. It's just something really simple. It's really but it's elegant, right? It's something. It just feels such a natural, obvious. Like, why didn't I think of this?
Yeah.
Right? But that I think is the mark of genius. So anything that has a simple concept to it, right? You can add layers to it, right? Like that's why I like Suro so much because Suro to me is like. It's the ultimate simple game. You're just putting tiles up, right? Now there's the one with the dragons, which is cool. But there's even the regular one, which
I like the regular one better.
Yeah. Right. The regular one is really it's a simple game, and the fact the more people you have in it, it's super hard. Yeah. Because like once there's like 5 people, it's like crap. It's like oh crap, how do I avoid hitting him, or how do I avoid going off the edge? It gets really for short games, but they're really intense for all that shortness, right?
Yeah, I also like something like Mice and Mystics. I find it's just too complicated.
Yeah.
And I think anything where you have to like watch a video to figure out, no thank you, like ghost stories.
Yeah.
I think we have to watch like half an hour on YouTube just to figure out how to play.
Yeah, no.
I'd rather play something where you can be up and running in 5 minutes.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Like you're like me in the sense you don't have a lot of time. What free time what free time you do have, you want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right. If something else comes around that seems like work, well, you already kind of do enough work as it is, right?
Figuring stuff out is what I do.
Yeah. I mean, when you're on break from that, I mean, you don't mind solving problems if they come up, but you don't really want to go out of your way to tackle a new challenge. Like, what do you want to do? Seriously, I want to Netflix and chill, or I want to play, something I get really easy, maybe like Tetris or Lego or or ice cream or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So. Candy Crush. Nice.
Actually, I got tired of that one.
You got tired of that?
Yeah.
What do you play now? What do you play like as your own?
Right now, Anthem.
Anthem's good.
But I'm finding I'm just waiting for the Cataclysm now because I'm finding it's getting a little bit grindy.
Okay.
But
yeah, mine's card games like Shadowverse. Hearthstone, because they're quick. I can play like a 10-minute game. I get like, yes, I won, or ooh, you got me. But I get it out of my system and I move on. Right, so.
Yeah, Anthem, you can play for, the short little missions are 10 or 15 minutes. But, they don't have enough of them, so it just kind of gets grindy after a while. So
you're kind of going like a party, kind of like well, now the campaign's like an hour, 2 hours, and you probably don't have an hour, 2 hours.
Yeah, if you do storyline, you could play 3 days straight. But
Jesus.
But if you're just doing the little pre-play world events, that kind of thing, then maybe 15, 20 minutes and you're done, whatever.
Yeah, and sometimes those are the best modes. The game I played when I was a kid was made more fun than the actual storyline was Grand Theft Auto.
Oh yeah.
Well, because you had such free range to do almost anything you wanted to do, right? You could also, there were ways to cheat and then actually unlock things in the game you shouldn't have early even without actually playing the actual game. And that's what the game gets really interesting. It's like, you're not supposed to be here, now everybody's after you, right? But there's lots of little tricks and secrets, and again, you could rob cars, you can just do your thing and nobody never actually do the actual missions ever.
Yeah.
And still get an experience out of it. And I think that's the important thing about games is it has to be an experience people can, I think, instantly get immediately.
Yeah.
Right? And then once they're engaged, and then you can go then you can add some elaborates or layers. And storytelling, I think, is much the same way. Right? You have to you can have I love science fiction. I'm an old school science fiction guy. I love Asimov. I love. Although Bradbury's technically fantasy, I love Bradbury. I love Heinlein. I love that era because they were able to take science, especially I think Asimov was where his strength was, hardcore scientific concepts, simplify it for the audience to get into, then they tell their story, and it was I love that dime novel era for that reason. It's just it's simple. You're into the process. I'm into the story. I'm entertained. I get. It's like getting a diner meal. It's not the best meal. It's not the worst meal. It's a solid meal, and I think that's where a lot of people are at right now, just because of how no one seems to have any time anymore. If that makes sense.
Have you read Slaughterhouse-5?
I have not yet.
That is probably the best, most entertaining description of post-traumatic disorder.
Kurt Vonnegut's. Are you talking? Is it the Vonnegut's one?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I've been wanting to read that one.
It's kind of like you described, short, simple, and easy to grasp, but at the same time, it's just so engaging.
Oh yeah.
It's a good one.
Well, it's solid. So, how did you get into writing science fiction?
Well, I guess I was kind of always enamored of the idea of investigating stuff that is unknown. So, I kind of pursued that. I went into science. My career is science. And
what field, if you don't mind my asking?
Brain tumor research.
Oh, really?
I actually trained in breast cancer metastasis, but then when I came to Calgary, I got a job in researching brain tumors. So that's my day job. And so the science is kind of I really like the question what if and the speculative aspects of it. So in this previous book, The Cyanide Process, a lot of it was, I'd be listening to the first half of a lecture in a cancer symposium. Something would catch my fancy, and I would just start daydreaming the whole what if. What if this was weaponized, or what if this was a cure for something else completely unrelated? What if this was a normal situation for an alien life form, that kind of thing.
Yeah, or what if this was a habitat or something?
Yeah.
Right.
Or what if this innate characteristic of something that's an object was actually something for a life form, and just go crazy with it.
Well, you never know. The cool thing about even as much as we know today, the world is the more you know, the bigger the world becomes, because you suddenly see the layers of the world you've never considered before, and once you realize that, right, the more I find the more imagination I get, because it's okay, maybe because I don't have all the details kind of down, but I now know that this is true. Well, if this is true, then what if this is true, right? And then you can investigate. Your world just becomes a lot bigger, a lot more layered. It's now much like an onion. There's a lot more layers to get to the center of it than you ever thought it was possible. And the more you seem to dig, the more layers you seem to find. And I think that's the cool thing about science and science fiction, really, really good science fiction, no matter what era. There's a lot of places the imagination still can go.
So, do you read any contemporary stuff?
Just standard fiction kind of stuff.
Like Robert Sawyer, for example.
Oh yeah, no, I read Sawyer. Sawyer's someone I thoroughly enjoy. I love his take on consciousness. Right now I'm reading him, Gerald Brant. Gerald Brant's kind of in the science fiction pulp brand, but very fun. Starting to read Edward Willett a little bit, just to get a grasp of what he does. And some Canadian Cory Doctorow is someone else I really thoroughly enjoy because he looks at the digital constructs and how they impact the world in really creative ways.
Yeah.
Also, his young adult stuff in particular deals with a lot of problems that we get uncomfortable looking at, like child slavery in other countries and things of that nature, which is always interesting, right? And also, I think Dr. predicted crypto before anybody else did.
Sorry, you predicted what?
Cryptocurrency before anybody else did. Well, he pointed out that in one of his books, and you looked this up, it was true. Some video game currencies were actually worth more than real currency.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is weird.
Yeah, no, it totally is. If you look at what crypto is not that different from gold from a video game, right? If you really sit there and think about that, right? It's digital. It's a limited digital resource, right? It's controlled-ish, right? But there's nothing physically tangible about it.
Yeah, but it's worth something to somebody.
You're right. It has value in this world, and he predicted that like 10, 15 years ago when he was talking about video game currency as money. It's like, right?
Sword Art Online.
Yes.
It's like you're just living in this other world.
Yeah, I never could go that. I don't think I could go that. I could go that far. You're trying to live in a world. My personal belief that happiness, as we know it, comes from within. And no matter what world you go to, no matter what world you can imagine, you will always find reasons to be happy or unhappy. It's entirely your perspective. And so I could go to another world. Like, the idea of going to Mars, possibly right before it's time to call it a day in this life, sounds cool to me. But if I go, I'm going to the place. I'm not like my happiness is here. It's in my. I either carry it with me, or I don't. And I don't think no matter where you go, it doesn't really matter. And I truly believe that all of us have superpowers already, right?
Okay.
We don't.
Such as?
We all have the ability to make. I think we all have the ability to make whatever we want come true. I actually do truly believe that, because the one thing I learned about people is people do exactly what they want to do all the time. It doesn't matter what the situation is, people do it. And when you realize that, that means wherever you're at, wherever you're going, right? It's all really about what you want and about how consciously you are aware of what your wants and desires are and how you manage them. And if you can do that, you can make a lot of cool things happen in this life. Even if not directly by your actions, it's almost like you put it out there. It's like, okay, this is what I want to happen. And the world does reward you sometimes with just giving you exactly what you want. But you gotta be careful about that too, because it is exactly what you want.
So this sounds like a plot line for another novel.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that in the works?
It's something I talk about. It's going to be one of the themes of. It is one of the themes of the Cloud Diver series. But it's just a personal headspace I learned about the last 2 years. I realized that no matter what, people do what they want. And when I realized that, at first I was a little sad about that, but then I realized that's not a bad thing. I think the real challenge with most people is, what do you actually want? Like, whatever that actually is, are you aware of it? What are you willing to do? Your actions will tell me more about what you actually want than anything you say. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Totally on the same page with you.
Yeah. So once I realized that, I don't get mad at, I drive some people crazy with that now, right? Because if someone changes their mind, or if someone doesn't respond when they go, hey, let's do something, it's like, well, do what you want. And it drives them nuts, because there's no excuses anymore. You're just, it doesn't matter, right? I don't need to know why you're not going to be there. You're not going to be there. This is what you want to do. Now, maybe there's priorities. Priorities do happen with us all. But if you really want to make something happen, you will make time for it to happen. And if you don't want something to happen, right, nobody on this planet can drag you to that space. No one.
Yeah.
And I do think that is the origins of most people's superpowers, whether they realize it or not. Whatever abilities you have, right? They're completely shaped by your perceptions, and they're completely shaped by your wants and desires, and and hopefully you're not using them to figure out who you are and where you want to go. Hopefully, but a lot of people don't look at it that way. They look at it instead, well, I want to be a writer, for example, but then they don't write a book. They don't put effort in and day out. Writing is any art, not just writing, is mostly a matter of discipline.
And learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. That's writing, right? That's everything. Learning curve, discipline, and the willingness to keep going. You write long enough, you're going to be good at it. Even if, in spite of whatever weaknesses you may have, you will be good at it. And you'll get the opportunities will come their way to actually get yourself out there, like published in whatever formats you get to. And when those opportunities come, right, it's because you made the time for yourself at the very beginning to get better, get going, get good at what you're doing. Right? And that doesn't just apply to writing; it applies to everything. That's a universal skill. Now, if you're just saying, I want to do this, but you're playing video games, or you're sitting there smoking dope, whatever the heck it is you choose to do otherwise, well, that's what you want. What do you actually want to do, right? What desires are you letting rule your life? What disciplines are you enforcing? You create. So life's not fair. No one can, I can't say, I don't know, maybe one day, Jennifer Rahn, you will be a New York Times best-selling author. It's entirely a possibility. You never know. Strangers, look, you write the right book at the right place at the right time. It just hits the right people. One day you'll wake up and you'll be like, when you
J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened to her.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, right. No one can say for sure where you're going to end up. That's the paradox of success. You can do all the right things and still not get to that success, whatever that success you want. But what you can do is you can create the opportunities to succeed, and whatever successes you will get, well, they're your successes, and you've worked for them.
Yeah, I noticed on your Facebook page you have a lot of very positive, motivational quotes, which is kind of nice.
Well, it's just, again, perception, right? I mean, it's easy. It's not hard to be kind. It's really not hard to be kind. All you gotta do is take a moment, just be kind, right? I don't want, I've interviewed like over 200 people for this podcast. That's mind-boggling. You sit there and think about that, right? Even including returning guests, that's still a lot of people. And I want every single one of them, whether it's yourself, whether it's Rob Sawyer, whether it's Hayden, it doesn't matter. I want everybody to succeed at what they want to do. Because why can't we all succeed, right? We're not really in competition with each other. We all offer something different. There's only one Jennifer Rahn. She will only ever be around once. So what she offers is unique and sacred and precious right now. There's no reason to believe that you can't succeed at whatever it is you want to do.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's very encouraging.
Yeah, it's the truth though, right? I'm doing my thing. You're going to do yours. You might make more money at it than I do. But no.
So much about
I know. I get you.
You may be successful.
Yeah. But I mean, you might be more successful than I am. But you've worked for it. You've sacrificed for it. You've done. Why be jealous or insecure? I would rather maybe you have a goal. Maybe this would be made into a movie someday.
So that would be cool.
That would be cool, right? Right? Maybe that would be a dream of yours. It happens. Maybe it's just a home video release movie. So what?
Yeah.
It's yours. It so would be cool, right?
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you get the Hollywood blockbuster. You never know, right? But you can't predict where you're going to end up in the realms of success. There's no way to predict that. But I can be happy for you for whatever successes you do achieve. I can be happy for Adam Dries. I can be happy for Susie Vidori. I can be happy for every single person that's going for something. That's not hard. It's really not. It just requires feeling look, I've been successful and I have some successes on myself. I'm grateful for them. So why not be grateful for everybody else? Why not wish the same joys on everybody else? We'd be a better world.
Yeah, I kind of think that you have a choice if you want to bring positive or negative energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And whatever you surround yourself with, that's what you're going to generate around yourself.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah. And good luck. So what do you feel is, you want to do a movie? Do you want to do a game? Or like where would you love to see your stuff go?
Right now, I just want people who are going to enjoy the book to have access to it, I guess. I just want it to be available. I just want people to read it. I don't know. I don't really think in terms of, visual arts, I guess. Movies is something I could never do it myself.
Movies, you never do it yourself.
I don't think I'd be like, George R.R. Martin, who's like right on the set and doing the executive producer thing. Like, I wouldn't know how.
Well, you don't need to necessarily do that. You can be like, what's his name? Mike Mignola.
Sorry, no?
Mike Mignola. He created a comic book series for Hellboy. He does nothing on the Hollywood end. Like, he's optioned it. He just let them do their thing. He's like, you know what? I don't know this realm at all. I'll just enjoy the paycheck.
Well, also the magic for me with writing is just, it stems from childhood.
Really?
Like, going to the library, getting the really beautiful picture books, and just getting lost in the story.
So what were your picture books?
Oh gosh, Maurice Sendak for sure.
Nice.
Like Where the Wild Things Are. Zilpha Keatley Snyder. It wasn't a picture book, but it was called Black and Blue Magic.
I've heard of that one. I don't know. I don't remember it though.
Huge impression, just because it's like so visual, like when you read it.
Okay.
Well, of course, Treasure Island.
Treasure Island's cool.
Charlotte's Web.
Isle of the Blue Dolphins is mine.
Sorry, what?
Island of the Blue Dolphins is mine. I don't remember who wrote it, but I remember it because it was about a brother and sister who got abandoned on an island. The brother dies really early on, and the sister literally has to spend on the island and her and the dolphins on the island for years. It's a really cool story, survival story.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah. So I remember that one. My other one was when I was a kid, where Bridge to Terabithia. It's a very, very sad one. There's that one. And I was big into Robert Munch and Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss, yeah. Well, even like the Lorax.
Yeah.
I mean, reading that as an adult, like just the predictions made in it,
Yep.
and just the artwork and everything, like it just has this whole unique world building to it that it just really, like as a kid, it just really grabs you.
Yeah. Oh.
And so I think that like when I write now, I just want to recreate that.
You want to create that kind of magic, like that
Yeah,
touch and...
absolutely.
Okay, I gotcha. So who is your favorite science fiction author?
Fonda and McIntyre. I think she recently passed.
She did, yeah. I haven't read her yet. I read McCaffrey. I've read Ursula Gwyn's another one I was a really big fan of.
Oh, Superluminal. You gotta read that one.
Okay.
That's my absolute favorite.
Okay, will do. I will. No, I will definitely. No, I love like going back to the old school science fiction for a bit. I love the predictions, possibilities. They were exploring not just the scientific stuff, but also the consciousness of using that stuff, which is why I like Sawyer's stuff today. He still deals with that stuff. He's the closest today to like an old school science fiction writer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's got...
I think I enjoy his stuff a little bit more though.
Yeah.
Like Asimov. Just because like he does the character building a little bit more than
absolutely. And if Rob's listening to this, he will love you for that. He's a huge, me and him are both huge Asimov fans, and I was like the biggest compliment. Like, you're the closest thing to him I've ever read. He really loved that compliment. But he's got a modern sensibility. I appreciate his modern sensibilities on things, because it definitely, there's a little bit more character. There's a lot more. You look at something like the Terminal Experiment, right? I mean, that one is really good. It's a cool science experiment, but it also deals with coming to terms with with the fact that the main character in the story, he makes 3 different copies of himself, right? One the digital copy, which like him. One that is all a digital copy that's not like him. It can evolve into something else completely, and himself. They all came into knowledge of the fact that his wife just openly admitted to having an affair with him. which was and how they all dealt with it was interesting, right? It was really because again, access, like what information you have access to, the anger, the limitations. Like the human being may want to kill the guy, but realistically speaking, I mean, if it's in the moment, maybe, but to actually meticulously plan out and do a murder, you don't usually. You have other things to distract you, and you also just once the moment's passed. Right. It's hard to recreate that exact feeling again. Right.
Well, this one's almost like Phillip K. Dick.
Yeah.
You know, like Minority Report and that
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yeah, except Minority. Dick doesn't have the same character, like the same thing. Doesn't have quite the same character development. Cool concept, right? In terms of imagination, Dick might have been the best of the best. Although. Okay, I'm a Zelazny guy, so I like Zelazny.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah, I'm a Zelazny guy. I love Amber's one of my favorite series. Period. But Dick had this incredible ability to really think through a concept right down to its bone, and in such interesting ways. That's why Minority Report or Do Androids Dreams of Electric Sheep, they're neat because they're exploring the concept. He's taking it and he's trying to explore it as many different levels and dimensions as he possibly can. Whereas Sawyer looks at the human element of these concepts strictly.
That appeals a lot to me.
Yeah.
Like every single character he writes is a real person, and they all have these personalities that you can really feel when you're reading it.
Yes.
Whereas some of like Asimov's early stuff.
Oh no, it's early. What it is.
It's like they're kind of these two-dimensional cardboard cutout type characters.
No, absolutely.
And the story still works, but I don't know. I just kind of like the evolution of characters as they go through their challenge or whatever.
Absolutely. Asimov later on, when you get to like the Foundation stuff, and when you get to like even
it's better.
Oh, a lot more developed. We look at our Daniel Alaval, for example, right? Like that robot character and how he evolves from the very beginning to what he becomes is such an interesting journey. It's just like, wow, that's really cool.
Well, the last Foundation book he wrote, 20 years after the first 3, was it?
Yeah, Foundation's Edge. That is one of the best stories in fiction ever.
Yeah.
Because, well, he was done with fiction. Like, he was happy, really content writing nonfiction, and he did that for about 20 years, and he was making a really good living at it. Finally, the publisher of the Foundation, because everybody's been wanting to see the sequel to this, and go, like, look, man. They basically bullied him into doing Foundation.
Oh, I'm glad they did.
They bullied him. They basically, this is what you're going to do. You're going to finish this. We're going to give you a contract. You're going to work on this. We're going to make you do it. And when he finally released it after 20 years of, partly I think the build actually helped, believe it or not, it was on a New York Times bestselling list for 42 weeks. It was insane, right? Because it was so many people want to know where to go next. And he's like, once he wrote this, like, okay, fine. I'll never ever not write fiction ever again. But he was also like Asimov, like in the 80s, like anything he wrote from like 1980 on. He's almost a different writer. Like he still has the same storytelling touches he had when he was younger, but he was a lot more sophisticated in terms of people, places, and so any of his later stuff, like it doesn't really matter. Like from Foundation's Edge on, the characters are a lot better. Like he had evolved, and I think the break from fiction actually really helped him.
Yeah, I guess doing something else for a while and just. Going back to it, you probably see it on a lot higher plane.
Well, our voices change. Like when we write stuff. Like I'm sure you would look at this when after your current book got to come out. You cringe a little bit when you look at this.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, you cringe a little.
Yeah.
But you needed this to get to where you are now.
Yeah.
Right? It's like me when I read The Watcher, my first book. I cringe. There's some parts I'm like, okay, you were a brilliant SOB here. And then there's some parts, what was I thinking? Right?
Well, it's like the first 2 novels that I wrote before I got into science fiction. I just rewrote one of them, and it's going to get re-released. But It was actually like I was reading it and I'm like, 80% of it is still okay with me. The 20% that wasn't, I totally got rid of.
It's like tears in your eyes, right? It's like,
Yeah, but this one I haven't looked back at the cyanide process for a while, so I definitely think I did a better job with Dark Corridor for sure.
Yeah.
But it's just like a lot of it's just learning, you know. Like Hayden was really, I guess, structured my thinking in terms of how to put a story together.
Yeah.
That's where I was weakest.
yeah.
So here's hoping that one.
But oh, it'll, I'm sure it'll be fine. Like, but what I mean is, like, our voices evolve. Like, you know more. It's hard to rewrite a book because you know a lot more, but you don't have that same purity of voice. Like, when you wrote, like, there's a certain, Terry Pratchett said this best when he because he wrote his 14-year-old self wrote a novel called The Carpet People, and he came back to it about 20 years later. And go, okay, because he wanted to do something that wasn't this world. Okay, I'll rewrite The Carpet People, and he actually, the biggest challenge about that was 14-year-old Terry Pratchett. Yeah, because I now would write a very entirely different book, but 14-year-old Terry, this is his voice.
Yeah.
I can't mess with that. It's not the same book anymore. I'll wreck the book. And that was a really hard balance for me. So this is not like anything else I've done. And it shouldn't be, because my voice was very different then and there. So in my case, I might never look, I'll look back, but I'll never, I think I'm going to resist the temptation to fix them. I'm just going to be like, okay, let's just make the next one better. I think, and because I recognize, like, this was the best I could do. Like the cyanide process was at that time the best Jennifer Rahn could do at that moment. The Dark Corridor, right, will be a better, right?
Well, hopefully.
Yeah, but I mean,
but you're right. It was the best I could do.
Yeah, right.
My absolute best, for sure.
And nothing but respect. Takes guts. Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of, and so I guess we've gotten to that point. So your next book's about ready to come out?
Yeah, May 23rd. It's going to launch at Owl's Nest Books, 7 p.m. Everyone's invited.
You guys nervous?
Yeah, like I wanted to go really, really well, really smoothly, but you know, I'm kind of reading up on what other people have done for book launches and that kind of thing. Make it a little bit more than just me standing there, you know, reading. Have a little bit of a little more interactive, maybe.
Interaction's good.
Yeah.
Just think of it like you want to create an experience.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you want to do. Like the book is what people will go home. What people will go home and read. But you get this opportunity to present who you are to an audience. No matter how big or how small the audience is, it's your audience, and you can have a ton of fun in making the most out of it. So, I mean, if that's your goal, you can do a lot of cool things.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about neat things I can do.
By the way, just so you know, Sarah likes cake.
Sorry?
Sarah likes cake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, no worries. But I mean, good luck. I hope it goes well. I hope you kick all kinds of butt. I hope it exceeds all expectations you have.
Thanks, and I'm looking forward to see your board game.
Yes.
Soon.
Well, at Windwards Collide, I'll probably bring it just for like as a testing. It might still be the hodgepodge at that point, but it will be hodgepodge.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It sounds really fun.
Yeah, we'll do. I think we have an interview, Miss Jennifer. What do you think?
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So why don't you just really briefly talk about your next book, right, and how people can find you?
So Dark Corridor.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So it is. It follows Hayden Sheffield, who kind of starts off as a street rat, and she gets commissioned as a special investigator with the ICA, which is the Interplanetary Conduct Authority. They're kind of like they're law enforcement, but because all the Earth colonies are spread out across several planets, some of them are spaceship colonies. They're having a hard time just exerting their authority. Anyway, she starts off in Vice, so she's bringing down drug lords. One of them kills her brother, and she just wants it all to stop. She just wants to make the whole universe, the whole system an easier place to live in. So she gets her commission, and on her first assignment to go to start so there's a dark market that the pirates have found a corridor to, and they're bringing all this new innovative tech no one's seen before, and they're selling it. And so her first assignment is to find out where this tech is coming from. It's sold to her as to bring in safety and controls and make sure things don't get out of hand. But she thinks that the people who hired her basically want a piece of the financial pie, so to speak. So on her first assignment, she just failed miserably. Like her back gets broken. She gets thrown in the midst of this huge political game that she can't even see the edges of. She doesn't even know where the board is. And she has to figure it out. And she comes across people who help her along the way.
This feels like a thriller, a technological thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whereas cyanide process was more like sciencey and thinking, this is more like more adventure-y, for sure.
Yeah. Captured the magic again?
I felt it when I was writing it.
That's awesome.
Fingers crossed other people feel the same way.
All right. How can people find you?
I have a website. It's longevitythesis.ca. That was named after the first novel I ever wrote. I'm also on Facebook, and I have Twitter. It's JENNRAHN. That's on my Twitter handle, and I'm also on Instagram, JJRon70.
Okay.
And that was my conversation with Jennifer Rahn. Jennifer, along with Al Anya, are doing a book launch this week at Owl's Nest Books this Thursday, 7 p.m. Jennifer talking about The Dark Corridor, which we talked about in the podcast, and Al, The Sixth Helix. Courtesy both Mandarin Press. I wish them both very well. Jennifer, you were a treat to come onto my show. You are welcome back anytime you want. It was truly a pleasure to have this opportunity. So thanks very much for coming on my show. So around this time of year, one of my favorite TED Talks, I always listen to it. And I listen to it usually right around key moments of the year. And one of them it's Larry Brown's Why You Will Fail to Have a Great Career. I love that talk. That talk to me is very real. It talks about all the excuses people make not to go for whatever it is they're going for, and it's a really good talk. It's 15 minutes, and it's pretty life affirming and great. It's an unbelievably great insight into why people do what they do. But I am always this year I've made some very conscious goals about where to go with the podcast, my writing, all that stuff, and especially on the podcast, I feel like I've definitely been on the right track the whole time. It's been great. And today I got some really cool information things, and I've had some opportunities. I've had a deliberate goal where I want to take the podcast, and it seems to be manifesting itself in a really cool way. And I want to thank everybody that's listened, because you made this possible, and I appreciate it very much. But one of the things about how this does with TED Talk is one of the things he talks about is the whole idea of destiny. And destiny is a scary word. It's a really scary word. It's not fate. See, I don't like the word fate because another word for fate is doom. And I'm not a big fan of doom. Like, even Doctor Doom, as much as I like the Fantastic Four, the idea of Doctor Doom or Doctor Fate, I mean, it can, one goes into the other. Destiny implies a higher expectation for oneself. And it's kind of cool, like right now that I've been doing this journey since January, and I'm seeing certain doors open in really unexpectedly cool ways, and I'm grateful. This week's been really reflective of that, just in light of some of the changes in my life, but it's been great. I really have no regrets. And that'll do it for this episode of Just Joshing. First and foremost, before I do the wrap-up, I want to thank my sponsors, Mandarin Press, as stated above, Jennifer Rahn, Al Anya, this week, Owl's Nest Books, Thursday, 7 p.m. Don't miss it. Next Thursday, Adam Dries, my other sponsor, is launching his book, 5 Critical Things for Successful Book Signings, which is available now as an ebook on all available platforms. You should definitely check it out. Now, as far as my podcast goes, you can support this in a number of different ways. You can subscribe to the podcast. I am on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Podomatic, just name a few among other players. Like it, review it, share it, do the thing. My books, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, Wandering God, are available through Mirror World Publishing. For this month only, you can actually get The Watcher for free, courtesy of Mirror World. You should go check out their website, mirrorworldpublishing.com. Say hi, do the thing. My YouTube channel is Joshua Pantellaresco. My Facebook and Instagram is at jpantellaresco. I'm wishing you guys well. Stay inspired. Keep doing your thing. And I will talk to you guys next time.
Josh.